Today on Sentinels Deck Review, we are taking a look at Baron Blade, the default villain and first opponent that you should really play if you're starting out in this game. Baron Blade is the leader of a Eastern European country that has some technological advancements, but is very authoritarianly led. He is the absolute dictator of this country, but they idolize him and love his constant aggression towards the West, the evil West entity, and he takes that aggression out on Legacy using his devices and schemes to drain Legacy of his powers or force Legacy out of the conflict so that he can rain destruction without dealing with that super-powered foe. All of his decks are about schemes that he is playing out to do collateral damage to the rest of the world or to cities that puts the heroes in an awkward position of you either try to stop him or you try and save everyone, but it doesn't feel like they can do both, and that's what his whole kind of deal is. Ivan Remonot was a brilliant scientist like his father before him, but was also a little bit mad. His father died in a battle of the legacy of his generation, a superhero, the father of Paul Parson, the legacy that we know ourselves. And Baron Blade, or Ivan, swore vengeance against the legacy line, swearing that he would wipe them out for what they did to his father. He plotted revenge and invented bizarre and dangerous weapons to take out these superpowered foes. He was successful in slaying the previous generation's legacy, but not before the newest legacy gained the powers of the legacy set, which is passed on from father to son over the generations. This new legacy proved to be a much greater nemesis, as his powers included impenetrable skin, which made it much harder to take out than the previous legacy. His most recent plot, a Terra Impulsion beam that will pull the moon into the earth and destroy it, wiping out the legacy generations forever. Alright, so Baron Blade here kind of has three different encounters that you can deal with when you're playing the game. You can just do base Baron Blade. That is what we're going to talk about first, but then there's also the Moonfall Event and then the Mad Bomber Event. We're going to talk about those afterwards, so let's get them out of the way for now and just talk about the base Baron Blade. So starting off, Baron Blade is an inventor, and you get that feel from him with all of the devices that he's going to be dealing with. So at the start of the game, he summons a mobile defense platform. When he would be destroyed, flip him, so when he would take out his 40 health, he flips. Start phase, if there are 15 or more cards in the villain trash, Baron Blade's Terra Lunar Impulsion Beam activates, pulling the moon into the earth. Game over. So if you ever get 15 cards discarded at the start of his turn, it will be game over. On advanced mode, you can have at the start of each of his, or at the end of each of his turns, discard the top H-2 cards of the villain deck. That can really speed up the 15 card event to end the fight, so that can make it quite a bit trickier to take him out, and really depends on what happens in the game. When you do successfully beat his 40 HP and he flips over, he turns into the Armored Mad Scientist. He gets his armored exosuit. When flipped to the side, destroy all villain ongoing cards and set Baron Blade's HP to 30. Baron Blade deals the hero target with the highest HP H melee damage. Baron Blade deals each hero target 1 energy damage. So he does a decent blast on the highest, and then -2 damage dealt to Baron Blade on advanced if you manage to flip him over before the 15 cards. So that's kind of what he is going on with those two sides, but let's talk a little bit about the deck. First off, we gotta talk about that summoned mobile defense platform. This thing adds some major struggles to the game because it says Baron Blade is immune to damage. End phase, reveal the top card of the villain deck. If it's a minion card, play it, otherwise discard it. That can add up cards into that discard pile quite a bit faster than you were expecting, as well as you have to first take out this thing's 12 HP before you can even start hurting Baron Blade and getting rid of his 40. If this thing can end up getting protected or get brought back out for somehow in the game, it can be very, very rough to successfully take out this boss. But let's take a look at the rest of this deck and how that's all going to play out. So he's got a couple of ongoings. He's got some devices and some minions, and then a few one-shots, not too many of them. So first off, a Living Force Field is that ongoing. -1 damage dealt to Baron Blade. If you get this out, it's really, really annoying. And then at the end phase, he regains H-1 HP. If you can't destroy ongoings, this thing is a nightmare to deal with. He's got a couple of those. He's then got some henchmen in here. We got a Blade Battalion. This card deals the hero target with the highest HP X melee damage, where X is the current HP of this card. So if you don't go and start taking this thing's health down, wiping out some of the battalion, you're going to be taking some serious damage throughout the fight. Consider the price of victory is -1 damage dealt by hero targets, the opposite of -1 damage dealt to him. Each hero discards 1 card. Baron Blade deals each hero target 1 sonic damage. Discard the top H-1 cards of the villain deck, then destroy this card. So for 1 full round, this thing can be absolutely devastating and really hit that 14 card limit really fast. Remote Walking Tank is a 5 HP, -1 damage dealt to it card that blasts targets for high amounts of HP. Powered Turret, +1 damage dealt by this card for each other device in play. This card deals each hero target 1 energy damage. This thing can really ramp up if you get a lot of devices out and really force you to not hit him, which is really what his deck is about. He puts out so many threats that you're like, I have to take that out so I can't hit him, and he's trying to get it so that you can't hit him enough times, and you put enough cards in the discard pile, taking these out adds them to that discard pile, that we hit that 15 card limit. That's kind of the struggle of dealing with this deck. Jump Jet Battalion, after this card is played, reveal the top card of the villain deck. If that card is a device card, play it, otherwise discard it. More power turrets, more hastenings. We got Hastening Doom here. Baron Blade deals each hero target 2 toxic damage. Play the top card of the villain deck. Extra villain cards, really rough. Backlash Field Generator device. After any villain target other than this card is dealt damage by a hero target, this card deals the attacker 2 lightning damage. Really annoying to deal with. Devious Disruption. Each hero may destroy any of their ongoing and/or item cards. Baron Blade deals each hero target X lightning damage, where X is the number of hero ongoing and item cards that hero play area +3. This one is a very rough card once you're set up. It can be super devastating in the game. All right, I'm pretty sure, yeah, that's all we're going to be dealing with this deck. So those are all of his unique cards. He's going to be putting out those Hasten Dooms and a bunch of devices and some minions and trying to wipe you out. He's a really good starter boss because it gives you a little bit of a grasp of changing priorities, focusing on multiple targets, as well as having an overarching target that you have to be focusing on. So you have got to be worried about those 15 cards. So you can't just focus on whatever in the game you currently want to deal with. There'll be times where you might be like, we can't destroy anything else, or we're going to lose. We have to flip him. So that's an interesting setup in his deck. To make things a little bit harder, you can play the Moonfall Event. So the Moonfall Event adds this little effect, which is whenever Baron Blade would be dealt damage, reveal the top card of the villain deck. If it's a minion card, play it and redirect the damage to that minion card. Otherwise, bury the revealed card. So buried puts it on the bottom of the deck. So that gets rid of non-minion targets, non-minion cards, putting them on the bottom, bringing out a bunch of minions that you're then attacking, and then they're building up his army kind of deal. So that is very rough, as well as all that redirection stops you from hurting Baron Blade and can make it so you hit that 15 card limit. So the Moonfall Event is pretty cool. Adds a little bit of extra stuff to him to actually make him a challenging villain. The base one's pretty easy to deal with, but once that's in play, it is definitely a losable fight. If you want something quite a bit different, we got ourselves Mad Bomber. So this thing comes out whenever Baron Blade would play a target card, shuffle it into the environment deck instead. So anything that has HP is a target card. Whenever the top card of the environment deck is a villain card, Baron Blade deals each non-villain target 2 projectile damage and 2 fire damage, then put that card underneath this card. So every time he would play a target, it goes in the environment, and then you shuffle that environment deck, and then if the top of the environment deck is ever a villain card, it explodes, dealing damage. The setup is shuffle and set the Baron Blade deck in the villain play area. Shuffle the top H-2 cards of the villain deck into the environment deck. Shuffle the environment deck until the top card is not a villain card. So that's the initial setup. So it'll immediately be 2 less than the number of players' cards in the environment deck that could already be bombs, and then he's going to be putting out these other bombs. If there are 12 -H cards under this card, too much damage has been dealt by Baron Blade's bombs, wreaking havoc and causing untold devastation. Game over. Otherwise, discard the top card of the environment deck. So you got to be paying attention to that. If you get 12 -H, so in a 5-player game, that's going to be 7 cards underneath him. Too much damage has been dealt, and it's game over. End phase, shuffle the top card of the villain deck into the environment deck. So the more turns he gets, the more cards are piling up in that environment. It's a really rough, really interesting fight. He doesn't flip in this one. You just have to take out his 60 HP before he destroys too much of the city. It's a really cool different playstyle to play the game with. You're not dealing with the targets anymore, no devices, no minions. It's all about just his one-shots, his ongoings, and then his ability to create all of those bombs. So this is Baron Blade, the default villain. Lots of fun to play. I would definitely recommend trying him out in all of his different modes. He's a great villain and a good time. Thank you guys so much for joining the Sentinels deck review, and we'll catch you guys next time.